So today we are going to explore the latest strategies for cloud computing here on the stage. And who would be a better opening keynote speaker than Andreas Keiger? Andreas is the Executive Vice President for IT Infrastructure at Rittal. And he has 2 decades in sales experience, and he's a system enabler for Industry 4.0 and IoT. And today, he's going to tell us about technology interfaces for our everyday life. So please help me welcome to the stage with a big round of applause, Andreas Keiger. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Normally, I would like to start to ask you, are you ready? And are you ready to take that speech? Welcome to Discover the Edge, and I would like to take you on a journey for the next 35 minutes. First of all, to talk about smart solutions, but really to talk about real business. And I really love this kind of picture because it shows you the normal world over the ground and the network below the ground. What does it mean? Maybe some of you maybe know our nature, and some of you also maybe knows the small mushrooms. Do you know that the small mushrooms has only a weight of few grams? But if you look under the ground, the mushroom can have a weight of 200 tons because they have the fastest and best network ever in the world to communicate in the forest with everything. The same now gets happen in the industry because a lot of new trends coming. And the most important trends, what's going on here, is first of all, you have a lot of new IoT devices, billions of new sensors, which came to the industry. Secondly, and most of you will know it privately, you have a lot of this kind of smart devices. This morning in the radio, I listened that 30 years ago, the first mobile phone was invented. It means the mobile phone has a 30th birthday today. And if you're looking in your pocket and you take it off and not writing any kind of emails at the moment, please, then you will get the feeling that you have the edge in your pocket. Yeah, because it's the closest edge what you have today with you. Secondly, this kind of smart devices and IoT devices, billions of new sensors, has to be connected and creating new technologies. And one of the new technologies is blockchain. And I think most of you only know blockchain coming with Bitcoining or cryptocurrency. Yes, of course, it's one case, but there are a lot of new cases where especially the finance industry and the insurance industry and some other industry applications will be changed completely by using blockchain in the future. Another point, very clearly, is everything which is called content streaming. I think most of you never sitting at your home privately in the evening or somewhere during the day and watching normal TV. I see some youngsters here. I can't believe that you're not on Netflix or Amazon Prime or other things, like my kids is doing that. But something happens in Germany. If you would like to go like some of my assistants using VR application at home to playing PlayStations, and you don't have the right connectivity in a small village with less than, let me say, 50 megabits, then you can't play PlayStations with VR. It's not really running well, believe me. And last week I got a magazine news that Germany is on place 32 in Europe with the connectivity and bandwidth. I was counting in my head how many countries we have in Germany, because in Europe, because place 32, maybe we are on the last position. I traveled to Korea a few weeks ago and saw that especially Samsung is providing their 5G network as one of the new trends which is coming up now. And 5G means for you, you're always connected, you're always on. And you have a bandwidth minimum of 1 gigabit. Please have the feeling if you go somewhere around, you are always connected and you are fast on as possible. You never imagine that it needs time to open a web page or a social media platform or something else. On top of that, everything creates a lot of big data. And we have to learn, because the storage industry will be in 2 years from now not longer able to produce enough storage capacity, that we have to learn how to run and analyze and also delete data which we would like to use or not to use in the future. And that's a big aim, because if you're once going to your basement at home and you once like to clear once your basement, you know it's not so easy to put something away, to draw it away, to say, I have to clean up. But that will happen, especially with big data. All of that leads to the edge. What means the edge? You have the requirement of a lot of low latency things. If you think about you would like to do something very, very shortly, some mission critical things like in the healthcare industry, then you need a decision now. You can't wait. You cannot send data back to a core data center and get them back again, because maybe meanwhile the patient is dead. It doesn't work. The same is with autonomous driving. You have the vehicle-to-vehicle communication with less than 4 milliseconds. If that doesn't work, and then a car in the future is an edge on wheel, it's a data center on wheel. If that communication, car to car, is not working, and it takes too long time because of the low latency, not available, then maybe you're not able to use autonomous driving. Going forward, a very important point is system-wide security. We have to learn that everything has to be secured as possible. Because if somebody can hack certain applications which are mission critical, then we are talking about human life. Or machine-to-machine communication, where some processes will be stopped and your production line, your efficiency of manufacturing will not capture anymore in the right way. Everything needs a very, very high availability. As I mentioned, always on, always connected. If you're sitting in front of an airplane and you would like to board, and your face recognition, your passport control, and the complete check-in system is not really working, you will not be able to go for the plane anymore. And there was some cases in the past where always availability was not possible. There was a case last year with the Delta airline in the US, with a power outage, and for 3 days nothing was working in the US. That's not so easy to handle. Another point, a lot of data, because millions of data will be produced in the future, has to be localized, done as a data processing. We will not send all the data in the future back to core data centers. Gartner says by 2022, up to 50% of all produced data has to be executed at the edge, where the data are produced and delivered. And to start it in the right way, because today you don't have time to scale a data center for 6 to 9 months planning phase, you have to have scalable systems, scalable solutions, which are running fastly, very fastly deployment, and ready on demand. And that all leads to the necessary kind of edge for the future. That means, by the way, everything will be connected in a certain way, like you have it maybe today in a smart home, privately. I will come to that later. And if you're looking forward, how will be the definition of edge? You will see immediately, first of all, there are certain different institutes, and every institute has its own view. It's Gartner, it's IDC, it's Uptime Institute, and other more. And they are defining the edge from certain different points. Never from one point, from one single point of view, separately. Rittal will come later on with a definition, how we see the edge, in a very small and easy definition. But what is very important, you see on the one hand, the lot of sensors and certain applications, which has to be local processed in an edge data center, and some of the data in the future will still be executed in the core data center, also at the hyperscaler, like you know them, to make artificial intelligence analysis and so on, to create a better outcome for the future. I personally love the next picture, because some of you, maybe not all, the very young ones will understand the picture. I love the Pac-Man. You know Pac-Man? And the idea with the Pac-Man came by one of my assistants to say, the edge eats the cloud. And I will say, I was on a conference a few weeks ago in New York on the DCD, and I was showing that picture, and half of the audience was crying and laughing and said, of course, maybe it's right, but I will say, no, I disagree. The cloud gets the new functions. The cloud will be integrated to the edge. Because as more data we have to process at the edge, as more cloud functions has to be analyzed, archived, end-to-end communications done directly at the edge. And you are expecting that you can use the same kinds of apps from your cloud platform, from the IoT platforms all over the world, that will be executed also in a certain edge, because not all the data will be transferred back later on to the core data center. Rittal is going there a very new way, and some of you will be surprised. Rittal developed a hand of smart applications. The smart solutions, what we are talking about, are all around smart city. And as you can see here, we are talking about smart healthcare, we are talking about telco, government, industry, retail, finance, and mobility. And why do we select that one? Because we have real business behind that. We have proof of concepts, real business cases, where we can show our customer very clearly how to come to the edge, how to build edges, and how to connect edges, and how to make edges happen by the end. And I would like to take you through a journey of these applications. And first here you can see the application of healthcare. And as I mentioned, if you are going for a doctor today, and you would like to have an opinion of a second doctor and you cross another town, today you would like to have a digital interface between that the data from one doctor to the other doctor can be visible. Because the data has to stay at the doctor's side or inside the hospital, we are not allowed to transfer data from A to B. That's by German law, by European law, and that you have to follow. But you can also create a lot of new upcoming business models. Like if you're somewhere in a hospital in Munich and a professor from the university or from the hospital in Munich needs support from somebody in Berlin, he can in real time connect to each other and then giving the hint what will be this proposed solution to go forward. That's a very mission critical part. If that's not running in real time, with telemedicine for instance, then maybe we are talking about life critical issues and that have to be done in a very secured way. Secondly, 5G is coming. I mentioned today is the 30th birthday of the smartphone. 5G is the next big trend. 5G will be not only for the consumer life to be faster and better privately connected and playing content streaming or VR or other things. 5G will be also small hubs of 5G in certain manufacturing places to connect machine-to-machine communication as a kind of island, to get faster communicated machines, and also to create availability, like I mentioned, the edge on wheels, the vehicle-to-vehicle combination, next time on the street, because you need very low latency. And 5G needs from the beginning a very standardized approach how to make a kind of physical infrastructure behind it. Because you know maybe today for 4G, we have in Germany approximately 3,600 poles where we have the communication. In the future, we need close to 18,000 only in Germany. And all that kind of standards, how to communicate, how to have small edges, small data center to process the data where they are produced, will be located at that kind of poles. If you go forward, we come to a very lovely part. It's called smart government. And most of you firstly thinking about, yes, it's some CCTV, it's face recognition, it's maybe for anti-terror aspects, but it's also to make your life easier, like e-government is a part where you never have to go in the future for a certain major village to apply for a new passport or a new driving license. Everything should be done directly online and communicated with all kind of certain government departments, not only in your own major village, across the whole country. But it's also used to make the border controls more efficient. I saw last time the first airlines now planning to use face recognition instead of boarding cards to get on board, which helps also to speed up the boarding process very heavily. That means also a lot of new business models will be created out of that. Smart industry. I think most of you know Rittal from the industry point of view. We are very famous because we are namely the market leader in the industry, because a lot of panel builder and most of the machinery industry use Rittal's system solution. But what we are also doing is we are now connecting the IT world and the industry world because of this mass of data which are coming up with a lot of new sensors, IoT sensors in the field of production lines, to connect them with small edges within the line to make the machineries much faster, more reliable, with higher quality and more efficiency as the outcome. If you take a normal tooling machine producer like Trump in Germany, they had created machines maybe 5 years ago where they had approximately 25,000 data points in a machine. The same type of a brand new machine today creates more than 200,000 data points. And mostly, if somebody like that company is selling their machine, the customer today, with his own production line, his own IT admin, get problems to integrate that new machine with 200,000 data points and run it in the right efficient way, instead of the former machine with tens of data points. And if you would like to get the efficiency out of that, you have to prepare how to integrate edges in your manufacturing layout if you go for an Industrial 4.0 factory in the future. Machine-to-machine communication, machine-to-human communication, especially to human. You know the name of robots, but some of you maybe also know the name of cobots. Cobots are robots that are working together with humans. If something is not going well there, and that's very mission critical and needs a very low latency, the robot, the cobot, can destroy the human. That has to be in our heads, and it's one of the reasons why also data center functions going from the core data center down to the edges directly to the robot application, to the automation level, to secure that this human-to-machine communication will run in the right way. The next application is smart retail, and it's one of my lovely applications because everybody of us here has made his own experience. I don't know if you're aware on your iPhone or on your Android device a kind of app of some of the supermarkets. But if you come today to a modern, new, developed, and IT-developed supermarket, if you step in the market, you will find there normally minimum 2 Wi-Fi points, 2 VLANs. And immediately, if you have an app of the supermarket, they will identify you. And if you are not first time there, they also will send you immediately the proposal for your shopping list. Don't be surprised, they know what you don't have in the fridge. Because the last few times, they analyzed what you bought. And they will add on that list automatically the latest advert. They're advertising what's good this week. But what you doesn't know is, but somebody maybe also you use the time Saturday afternoon, every second week around 4 p.m. you will see a lot of youngsters which are refilling and reorganizing the shelves with the food and the beverage. Why they are doing that? Because in the edge of the supermarket, in the small data center, also the analysis of the picking zone is running. Where are the good things? Where are the people picking most? And the supermarkets are reselling that places to the supplier. The best place is the highest price, but it's the highest movement too. And that is done every 2 weeks approximately. That is something which came out of a real data center integrated as an edge in the supermarket. That edge is doing an automatic refill of the supermarket every day. It sees automatically out of the cashier system what's going on. It also sees automatically what will be the advert for next week and what kind of space do I need. And it will see you if you came next time. The next point is smart finance, and that will be an industry for the future where a lot of new fintechs, also represented here at the CEBIT, will destroy the current business model of traditional banks. Because with a lot of new blockchain applications, the same as well for insurance companies, will create different kind of new applications and new business models where you don't need anymore any kind of bank or insurance directly in the future. certain apps today available. I personally using Clark as an insurance app. They're optimizing everything for you if you want. Okay, on the other hand, it delivers a certain kind of transparency where you have to know what's with the data law, how to handle it, would you like to have an advantage or not. But it's something what is fully organized by blockchain applications on the back, and that will be a huge driver in the future. If you go forward, you have the smart mobility. And smart mobility is not only a vehicle-to-vehicle communication, like I call it, the car is an edge on wheels, and communicate to all the other cars surrounding them. Yes, of course, that's possible. There's more behind. I personally driving a new Q7, which is level 3 autonomous driving up to 60 kilometers per hour. The other thing I have on my iPhone, also the Audi Connect app. Since that time, I can see what my wife is doing. Where she's parking, where she's going, what is the petrol consumption, is the car closed or not, and certain other things. And this is a little bit scary, yeah? You also see it brings you to new points. But what you also can do with that, it will lead you automatically to the next free parking slot on your journey. Or it will give you proposals, where's the next petrol station, because you are running maybe out of energy if you have an electrical car, or you're running out of petrol. But it also will recommend to you, on request, with speeches in modern cars, where maybe is the next restaurant, or the next hospital, or the next train station. It also will organize in the future that we get rid of all cross lights. Because if cars can talk to each other, maybe you don't need them anymore, and you get anytime the green wave if you would like to cross a village or something else. Or maybe in the future, we can look with the cars around the corner, and we can avoid any kind of accidents. There are a lot of new things coming up, and smart mobility also means smart transportation, smart logistics, smart transport systems, because people today only would like to know how I came from A to B. And it doesn't take care if they're leaving the train station. And I had this experience last week in Beijing, in China. I came to the train station, I would like to go for the next place. And there I was surprised that I got an app automatically as proposal for bike sharing. First time I was smiling, but then okay, yeah, you're in Beijing. Now I also know there are more than 9 million bicycles in Beijing. On each corner there are more than 10,000 now. And you share your bike there. Because it's the best way to get from A to B as we will leave one place to come to the other. All of these kind of solutions, our Rittal has an offering for that. Maybe you know Rittal from the past. We are a system provider for certain data center applications, coming from the original OT level, which means the physical infrastructure, with the racks, with the power, with the cooling. And out of that, we created some predefined physical solutions, like Edge Data Center. But Rittal changed heavily. Together with some startups and new daughter companies, we have created a solution stack. And that solution stack gives us now the opportunity to fill that dream of application with real business, what I'm showing with the smart solutions, with real life. That means we are able to integrate compute power, network, storage, combined with the right software application to make complete solutions for all these solutions what you have seen. And I only can invite you to discover the edge on our booth close to you here. All of that only works if you adapt to a kind of ecosystem. And we started more than 4 years ago to create an ecosystem with certain partners to support the complete life cycle of IT. This life cycle of IT is firstly driven by the design phase. And within the design phase, you need certain partners which are perfect and planning and designing certain kind of applications. Also to standardize in industry. I will come to that later. After that, you are talking about the implementation. You need partners globally which are able to help you to install, to commission, and later on the operating side, to run these applications. And nothing is counting if you are not thinking about the last phase, that's the optimization, because you can anytime do it better than before. and new technologies coming up, and with that one, you have to create a cycle to going forward and forward and forward. Rittal had made a decision to select the right partners. As you can see here, there are big brand names like HPE, IBM, Siemens, ABB, but also a lot of data center providers in the colocation market like Equinix or like NTT, eShelter, but also present on any kind of IoT platforms where more than 1,000 IoT platforms today are available. And we are playing with Predix, we are playing with MindSphere, we are playing with Watson, with Einstein, with Leonardo from SAP. That means we are connectable to all of these IoT platforms. I promised to you to define the edge from the Rittal point of view. And we do it very, very easily. We are saying, we are talking about the edge once. We would like to immediately processing capacity as required on the place where the data are happen. Very easily. That's all. And how the edge looks like, it can be such different you never will expect. And that I can show up on the next picture. The edge can be a single rack solution, which was in the past maybe at your private home office, your desktop under the desk. This desktop is now growing up. It's called a rack. Fully deployed with compute power, storage, network, running on an IoT application layer on top, in a secured environment, connected to a core data center, connected to some cloud applications, and connected to other edges. It can be predefined, scalable, and configurable solutions like the secure edge data center, what we developed together with HPE and ABB. We also have same versions done with IBM, with Hitachi, and other companies. But to make it real happen and to hold the speed in the market, you also can start to containerize data center. As I mentioned, in the past, a normal design of a data center takes normally 6 to 9 months, sometimes much longer. Rittal is able to deliver from the shelf within 10 weeks a predefined containerized data center, scalable on the IT, power, and cooling side, in any kind of power you would like to have. And the funny thing is, we do that globally because we have the global footprint for that. The other point is, you get out of bespoke solutions and you start to industrialize the data center business. It don't have to be in a container. It can also have different other housings. It can be in a normal building as a green place. It can be in a security room, in a kind of shelter. There are a lot of different opportunities. But a modular and scalable concept behind that, delivered from the shelf, that's a strategy to convince the market to be faster, adaptable, and have a higher quality. That leads to the benefits. The global availability, as I mentioned. The highest quality, because we are creating one standard from the beginning. It takes time with us to start business, because we would like to invest in the beginning with a 2 or 3 days workshop to find out what's the real pain of the customer, what will be the real 2 to 4 applications, what we pre-develop for the customer to customize them for high scalability later in the market. The scalability I mentioned was this way. We have the high availability from the shelf, as I also said before, and our aim, our DNA as Rittal is to standardize the business. And of course, also to standardize the data center industry. Because there is no time, but this huge amount of increasing data in the future to have still the traditional way to have bespoke solutions to go too slowly to change the world. I would like to thank you, and I'm fully open to take any kind of question. Alex.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Now we have Caro walking around with a mic, so you guys can raise your voices and actually ask questions directly. Is anybody already ready with a question? Thank you, sir.
I think the edge solution the customers will be small order and the configuration will be different. I want to know Rittal how to handle this.
Can you repeat the question for us? Thank you.
The guest asked, how do we handle small customers if they have some very small localized solutions? I only can invite you to the booth there. You will see a lot of small solutions too. We have, let me say, a kind of catalog of solutions, and we know up to 80% of all your requests as a customer will fit into that. I compare myself in the sales approach like the automotive industry. If you go somewhere and you would like to select a car, there are certain types of car available, the same we are doing with certain types of edges, which are fitting to every kind of the smart solution. That's not the point. But what you can do later on, you can select your own options. You can say, I would like to have that, that, and that, because of redundancy or because of kind of compute power, storage, or something else. And with that one, you can configure your own solution. We are never close to say to some of the kind of customer, you are too small, we will not support you. We do it for all. Yep.
Okay, thank you. And then you, sir?
Thank you, Alex. I just one question. Rittal, you manufacture the container data center, or you just do the system integrator?
We are producing containerized data center. And we have, as you see, an ecosystem of a lot of system integrators and partners globally, which are helping us to implement, to deploy, and to run the data center later on.
Okay, thank you. Do you have the very, very micro data centers?
We also have very, very micro data center. If you came to the booth, you will find it there.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Right over here, thank you.
So first of all, thank you for the good speech. Thank you very much. I have one question. You talked a lot about edge computing. Is this the end of the cloud?
As I mentioned, I think you saw the Pac-Man running, and the edge eating the cloud. I have a personal different view on that. On the conference on the DCD in New York, a good friend of mine, Yuval Bachal from LinkedIn said, he came with a new spelling. He said it's the edge cloud. Because the cloud is going to the edge and has to have the functionality within the edge in the future. And that's something where maybe the big cloud providers, the hyperscalers, are now rethinking to rebuild their business model, because if the data are executed somewhere at the edges and they would like to give the same cloud apps also at the edge side, they have to find a way how to connect them and how have the same functionality also at the edge. Yeah, that's a new trend, and I think it will also change some business models.
Thank you. Any more questions? I have one question. So, about standardization in the future, could you run us through a few simple steps of the near future that are necessary to standardize the infrastructure?
Yeah, I think Rittal has a very good experience, especially also with the hyperscalers. And one of the standardization process today is OCP, Open Compute Project. What they are doing is they are changing the form factor for storage, network, and compute power. And to do so, they can reduce the footprint, which is needed to handle all the increase of data in the future. And that's something where we as a gold sponsor, for instance, for that kind of new project. There's also Open Power and Open 19. There are two other initiatives. We are supporting the business to bring everything from the physical point of view on a smaller footprint, not to use too much unused space, and also creating a lot of other things like new concepts for cooling, because everything which produces data, there's physics that produce losses. Losses means heat. Heat needs cooling, and the cooling technology is one of the next trends where we have to look, and the same coming with the power consumption. In the past, you had a traditional PDU inside the rack on the A and on the B side, very technical now, don't excuse me for that. In the future, you don't want to use any kind of AC power anymore. You will go directly to DC. DC means you don't have the losses to transfer from AC to DC. Yeah. Will we also come to the private home? Yeah, you will get rid of a lot of connections, hopefully in the future. And that will help also to reduce the footprint, to get rid of cable in the data center. They are first company in the US now try to build a data center without cable. Also, the connection between the servers will be done via Wi-Fi. That reduces the placement of the data center, to build a data center, because the longest work today is cabling in all applications. And it will be set up automatically, and it will be also the dream to run in the near future with the right basket of new softwares, fully automated data center. They don't have any kind of human there anymore.
Thank you. We also have a short presentation today about heat and reduction of heat. So in the afternoon, you can get excited for that if that's down your alley. And I think there's time for one more question. I'd like to tie this together with what we talked about yesterday, which is cybersecurity. Do you have a take on, when you are developing the next data centers, on the security aspect, the most important points?
I think the most important point is the end-to-end security. And there are a lot of things has to be done in the future, and we are working close with Fraunhofer, for instance, in Germany, to develop new kinds of softwares to be much more secured, also to make a secured interface between edges, because that kind of software is not developed yet. It's something new what has to be bring out. And security is the same like in your private life. I have, as I mentioned to you, 43 MAC addresses at my private home, and I learned a few weeks ago with my first own developed cockpit how to connect them and how to bring them together, and I found out how many of them are not secured by themselves. Where are the open doors, the back doors, to come into my network?
By the way, is everybody following right now when we talk about MAC addresses?
You know what is a MAC address? That's, let me say, it's the ID card of every device. Yeah, it's the passport of each single IoT device which you can connect. Your iWatch, your iPhone, your Android device, your TV, your fridge, if it is connected to the IoT world, everything has an own MAC address. It's a, I think, 17-digit number, as I know it right, something like that. And that's the securest address to connect that one in your own network. But as far as IoT device by themselves is not safe, because a single device can be hacked, it makes no sense to secure all 43 with an overriding system as far as you have one backdoor. And that's something where you have to look in the future, and we can learn a lot out of the consumer industry to transfer that experience now to the industry. Because I personally think maybe in 3 years from now, we will not sit here with a separate CEBIT and HMI, we have to bring it together, because industry and IT came closely together. And that's the biggest shift, I think, for the near future.
Thank you so much for inspiring us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andreas.
Thank you.
See you soon.
See you.